two distinguished guests that I would like to introduce. First, I'd like to thank Selectwoman Kyle for having us here. It's always a pleasure to come over here to the Seacoast. And I would also, see, we got fanfare for it. And I would also like to recognize the Honorable Representative, Mr. Khan, in this area too. Thank you for being here. And if you want to just give a little chat.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, recognizing me, and thank you for coming to Seabrook for your monthly meeting. May last year, after a lot of discussion and everything, first time you came in, and I had a talk with the Board of Selectmen, and they agreed that from here on, we'd like to host your monthly meeting in May every year thereafter, as long as you want to come. I take this opportunity to thank all the members, all the commissioners, for their great work for all of us, all our New Hampshire citizens. And as you know that the commissioners' work and the law you implement and the things you do, because of those reasons, our committee members don't have too many bills every year. We have 1 or 2 bills because of your great work. Thank you. Keep up the good work, and thank you very much again for all the members.
Thank you. And for those that you don't know, Representative Khan is also on the Fish and Game and Marine Resources Committee. And we thank you for your time. So moving on, I'm going to open the meeting. Today is May 16th. We're at the Seabrook Town Hall, 99 Lafayette Road in Seabrook, New Hampshire. The public is entitled to attend all commissioner meetings, and when recognized by the chairman, the public may speak on any items on the agenda. The chairman reserves the right to limit public comments to the extent necessary for the orderly conduct of the meeting. One of the things that I ask is anybody standing up to speak, please give your full name and where you're from. First item I'd like to do is the approval of the April 18th, 2023 commission minutes. Motion's been made, seconded by Chairman Hodgson. All in favor?
I have
Hold on. Discussion?
I have a recommended edit. A couple pages in, as we reviewed the rulemaking on the turkey rule notes, there was a lot of discussion at the meeting about the requirement to remove the requirement to register a turkey before taking another. So what was in the proposal from the department was to remove the requirement to register a turkey before taking another. So there was an amendment made by Commissioner DeRosa to actually not support that and to strike that from the proposal. There was a lot of discussion in the meeting because it's not agreeing to the removal, so there, like the wording of it was really confusing. So the way it's captured in the notes is actually not accurate. It says the vote taken on the amended motion to remove the requirement to register a turkey before taking another carried with 9 in favor, 1 opposed. I actually was able to watch that again based on Joan's video to make sure that it was captured correctly. It's actually to remove that section from the proposal.
Can you email me that amendment, please, so I get it just how you want it?
Yep. So that.
Any others? Sure. Okay, the motion is to accept the minutes with the amendment of what Commissioner Hodgson has stated.
Can you just repeat it?
Yeah.
Can you help us with that?
No, and
Scanning here and I don't.
No, and it's a tough one, and if you kind of watch or listen back, there was a good amount of debate on it because of the language. The proposal from the department was to remove the current requirement to register a turkey before taking another. Commissioner DeRosa made an amendment, I seconded it, to actually strike that from the proposal. And so that was voted to strike that after a lot of discussion as to why. Okay, so we did want to continue to have to register one turkey before taking another. And then it was voted on, the proposal from the department was voted on as proposed, striking that from the current proposal.
So on the third page, almost 3/4 of the way down.
1, 2, 3, actually the fourth page,
Yeah,
yeah,
got that one.
thank you.
That's right.
I do remember that vote.
Did
Saying
that
is it pretty much said
help
the
Chris,
opposite of what we
Paul?
did.
Yeah, yeah. That's exactly
Any other questions on that?
Well said, Alexander?
Yep.
I have none.
Okay.
Okay, motion's been made. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
And I'll circle back with Tanya on the
Thank you.
language.
Thank you. By tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Okay, second item, for action items. If everybody received a, action item, a late item, that item is gonna be number 3F. So, item number 2, approval to accept the following donations made to the search and rescue account. From Sally Merrill, $1,200. Christine Barker, $100. Genesis Circle Health Congregational Church, $35. Martha Burnham, $25, for a total of $1,360. Do I have a motion to accept item 2?
So moved.
Second it.
Second, all in discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I do it every year. Sally Merrill was married to Don Merrill. He was a sergeant in the law enforcement division. He passed away. And Sally has always donated every year a significant amount of money. Usually it's in Don's name. No, I guess it never has been in Don's name, has it?
It has.
It has been, Colonel?
Yes, and I'd like to speak to that if I could.
I have to say that every year.
And I believe you said it last year, that's why I kept it separate for you.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
About
if
Colonel?
I could, the other thing I wanted to mention, because it's important to Sally, is she contacts us every year. She looks for something to purchase that's meaningful to the agency, and it's always in the sergeant's name, which I really appreciate her generosity. And this year, she wanted to make sure that that money ended up in the K-9 account to support the K-9. So I told her I would mention that at the meeting, so thank you.
Maybe there's a suggestion on this. Maybe the commission could send her a thank you note,
I think it'd be
ask the
excellent.
commission. If you want, I'll draw up a letter to her. Kevin, if you give me her address
I
and
can do that,
everything.
sir. Yep.
Especially when she does it every year, and whether, you know, the commission would all be in favor of thanking her personally.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
The Colonel mentioned that she wished to have it go into the K-9 account. Is that correct, Colonel?
That's correct. And we did that internally.
Because that's listed right here to win the search and rescue.
Well, that's where I put the K-9s. That's
Oh,
where the
okay.
K-9s are.
That's one and the
search and
same?
rescue. Yes, sir. But what we do is I earmark it specifically for the dogs, for expenses for the dogs.
Good.
Yeah. I'll get you the address, sir.
Thank you, Colonel. Any more discussion on item 2? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Now I'll go to item 3, approval to accept the donation of $300 made to the Inland Fisheries Division from the National Flycasters Association, $200, and the Theodore and Diane Pelletier, $100. Member of the board, Diane Timmons, is who it came in through. Next item, 3A, approval to accept a $200 donation from Rick Fadden, Stoddard, New Hampshire, for the deposit into the small gifts and donations account. Item 3B, approval to accept a $50 donation from Christine Jazorski, Forest, Virginia, in memory of Kathy Jones, for the deposit into the small gifts and donations account. Item 3C, approval to accept a $50 donation from Candida and Raymond Burnham, Canaan, New Hampshire, in memory of Burnside Bernie Bartlett, to deposit into the small gifts donation account. Item 3D, approval to accept the following donations made in memory of Thomas Lavin Rathke of Laconia, New Hampshire, for deposit into small gifts and donation account. The Ferrier family of Hudson, New Hampshire, for $200, and Joshua Carell and Jan Loza of Davie, Florida, for $100, for a total of $300. Item 3E, approval to accept a $35 donation from Gordon Vidham and Zeta Bello, Ashland, New Hampshire, in memory of Mark Ober Sr. of Ashland, for deposit into the small gifts donation account. And item 3F, is approval to accept $10,000 donation to the non-game program from Barbara Virgin in memory of Stephen and Audrey Virgin. And that's the end of those donations. If anybody wants to make a donation, a motion for items 3 through 3F.
I'll make a motion to accept it.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The motion passes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Trump.
along the lines of Commissioner Stoll's thoughts, could you refresh our memory, do thank you notes go to these people that make these donations? And the reason
I know
ask-
what some
If I could
commissioners
speak to
done, what
that.
I've done is I have taken some people, especially if I know them in my county, and have actually called them up and thanked them. As far as they know, does
Yes, each
fishing game, I
division,
think-
so each division will send thank you notes. So if it's made to the Let's Go Fishing Program, Public Affairs sends a thank you. Made to law enforcement says thank you. Small gifts, I handle all the thank you notes for that.
So whether it's $35 or
They
$1,200 or $10,000, everybody is recognized.
Well, actually, memorial donations are more so, we send thank you notes too.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Financial statement, Kathy,
Here.
journal,
I have one added one that may not have, I don't know. if
Another
it's
item?
on the agenda, but I'll give it to you. She typed it up, a donation.
yeah, I'm gonna make that item 4. Well,
That's
I'll keep that one separate.
perfect.
All right, so items 3A through 3F passed.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to add another new item, item 4. And item 4 is to accept a donation of 6 Zoll AED plus fully automatic units valued at $10,614 from the New Hampshire ATV Club. Colonel, do you want to speak on that?
Sure, the ATV Club they wanted to donate something for the work that we've been doing trying to enforce a lot of their regulations. And they asked us about equipment that may be needed, and the club had actually come up with the AED idea, which I thought was awesome. So we're gonna put some of those in cruisers for the guys that are close to the rock trail and some of those areas, so that we'll have something available if we need it. And then we're gonna mount another one in the dive trailer, so that we can use it there. So that's a huge donation, that's a huge cost for them, and it was a very generous donation. And we wanted to, the reason for the urgency today is the trail system opens up this next week, so I wanted to make sure that we got this on the agenda so that we could deploy these things when the trail opens up.
Okay, thank you, Colonel.
Thank you.
Anybody want to make a motion to accept item 4?
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor to accept item 4, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes.
Thank you, sir.
Now you're gonna be way off track on that. Financial statement, I don't think that's in here.
No.
I don't, did we get a new one? No, I didn't see any.
No.
Legislative committee.
Mr. Chairman, so would it be appropriate to request that a financial statement be provided if the office isn't going to be here at the meeting to hand it out?
I don't think it's compiled yet, Scott, do you?
No, I don't think so. It's just, it's that time of year right now, it's end of year in June.
Fiscal, yeah.
And,
Budget.
budgets, and we're racing to finish up some budget work.
And Kathy's short 2 people to her defense. She's trying to do 3 jobs.
It's just an awkward situation right
When do we close our month?
now.
June 30.
No,
The month.
When does the
I
fiscal
think
month?
I think the end of the month. is
Fiscal ends
30th.
in June.
No,
No, the month-
month to month, I'm just curious.
I think it's last day of the month.
Closed on the last day of the month.
I believe so.
Which in favor to Kathy, I'd like to remind all commissioners that June 30th, the end of the fiscal year. If you don't have your mileage stuff in, thank you for your donation. Because after June 30th, you will not get paid.
Right.
I don't know any other way to put it.
Pretty quick.
Okay. Get your mileage reports in, if you have any. She's been pretty good on that, on sending that out monthly, even if she's not gonna be here, but I do understand we're at the end of the, she might be a tad busy. Legislative committee.
Thank you, Chairman Green. I'm going to defer to Marty at this time because she has some up-to-date news having just come from the State House. LOD.
Thank you. So on the update that I passed out today, which is I sent it out yesterday, and this is more updated than what I sent out email to you on the 4th of May. SB 13 at the bottom and SB 256 were exec this morning by the House Transportation Committee. SB 13 has been retained by the committee. This is the bill that would allow the DMV to suspend someone's driver's license for failure to recompensate the Fish and Game Department for search and rescue operations if they are found negligent in their behavior. There is a bill currently in process that was also retained by the House Transportation Committee, HB 640, which prohibits the DMV from suspending licenses for any reason. So because this is similar in nature to that, they have decided to retain this one as well, and they are going to work on them together over the summer. So, we'll be keeping up with that over the summer. Any bills that are retained, because this is the first year of a biennium, has to come out of committee at the end of the fall and go to the House floor by the third session day in January. So we'll know something later. And then the SB 256, the OHRV safety course, has come out of committee with an amendment to clarify the dates of the effectiveness for the different age groups. So it was more of a housekeeping thing. That's not our bill. SB 256 is not our bill, but we were involved with the OHRV community in developing it, and they worked closely with us. So we did testify in favor of it per the commission's voting. And that's and then the other thing I had, moving on to rules, is the update that I sent yesterday afternoon. It's at the back. FIS 606.01, restrictions on certain clam species. There are several marine fishery rules in the FIS 600s that are exempt rules because they are federal regulations, so they do not follow the GELCAR process. But we do put them into our rules just for ease of our constituencies, that they can look in one place for all the rules. But because they are federal regs, they have to be followed. We don't need to follow the GELCAR process, but we do put them into our rules. This got captured with those other exempt rules, but it is not. Clams are not an exempt species. So these have to go with the regular GELCAR process, and it needs, per RSA 211:62, it needs commission approval.
This is the one where you can't shuck over open water.
Yes.
You can't basically throw your garbage into.
You can't, right, it's, yeah, no littering. No littering. So yeah, it adds that no person using a dredge in the taking of species listed above shall shuck at sea. No shucking and jacking.
All right, just so I'm straight on this, could you re-explain on the clam thing on the mile limits? Because
On the what?
on the mile limit on shucking of the clams,
Mile limit?
No.
what does it say about
Well,
so many miles out yet?
we had a meeting at the Marine Advisory Commission. There was some concern about the shucking at sea. And one of the problems was that there was anticipated, with the boat that is clamming right now off the coast, he's only a couple hundred yards off the beach. If he was shelling at sea, there was some concern that those shells would be washed onto the beaches during storms. So they came up with an amendment that there'd be no dumping of clam shells in state waters. So they would have to go out into federal waters, which is beyond 3 miles, in order to get rid of the shells. Because if they came to the dock, they're coming in with 500-600 bushels of clams. It's a lot of shell. And so they had to figure out how we're gonna, they don't want them shucked in on the harbor side either. So to get rid of the shells, they decided that try to get amendments in there to dump them in federal waters, beyond state waters.
Well, we don't enforce, our rules are not applicable to federal waters. We can only enforce our rules in state waters, so this would only apply to state waters.
Right.
So this is what Cherie and Renee gave me.
Okay, did Cherie come up with that language about?
What you have in front of you is what I was given.
Okay, how long ago did Cherie do that?
Like a day or so.
I'm sorry?
It's like a day or so ago.
It was maybe last week, yeah, maybe.
That's when we had a Marine Advisory Board meeting, was a week ago Tuesday,
Okay.
where they came up with that language, of no dumping in state waters.
So for, maybe if
I
I
can,
make
I can follow up with Cherie, but this is
She's
what
out
she,
sick today, she would be here, but she's sick.
but this is what she gave me, so, yeah, I'll follow up with her.
My question's gonna be, you're requesting a vote on this FIS today, correct? If it's gonna be amended, it's gonna have to be today.
Well, wait a minute,
Yeah, if I may, Chairman. The coastal commissioner sits on the Marine Fisheries Advisory Council, and actually by statute, it says that the Marine Fisheries Council will make a recommendation to the commission on legislation affecting the coast. So Commissioner Titone is actually providing that feedback. Am I representing correctly? The Marine Fisheries Advisory Council.
Advisory Board, right?
Advisory Board. So that is the recommendation from that, and Cherie participates in those meetings, correct?
Yeah. she
Yeah,
does.
so I think we're saying the same thing actually, but the recommendation is that amendment in Part D, no person using a dredge in taking of species listed in paragraph C above shall shuck at sea. What I understand from Commissioner Titone is that species listed in paragraph C above shall shuck in state waters. So it's just rewording, but making the same.
We don't have a copy.
It's at the last page.
Yes, she did.
It's the last page in this.
So,
it's in the package.
Last page.
so it's bringing it into compliance with what the Marine Board is recommending.
And it's not materially changing what's here
Right.
on the.
Right.
The
on the
clams,
document.
the clams are gonna be shut. So you have the residual of all the shells. You just want to make sure that they couldn't shut the sea, and also, once they do shell, there's no dumping of those shells in state waters.
So no shucking
No
or
shucking or
dumping
dumping,
a
In
shell,
state waters.
okay.
or dumping of the shells within the state waters.
In others, where it says above shall shuck at sea, it should be saying that the above shall not shuck
Yeah.
in New Hampshire state waters, correct?
It says, no person using the dredge for taking a species shall shuck at sea. So basically, you're saying those clams are gonna be landed whole here, and they're gonna be shelled. Whether they shell them on a boat or whether they take them to another facility, we just wanna make sure that if they are shelled, we don't want those shells dumped in the state waters.
When was your meeting?
It was a week ago Tuesday.
Yeah, I think what happened was, it sounds like this got crossed in the mail because our packets got mailed, and that meeting took place after
Well,
this went out.
No, this
That didn't
got
come
sent
out.
out to you yesterday.
That didn't go in your packet.
It didn't go in your packet, I didn't have it then.
Oh, I must have printed it at home and attached it to my packet organizing.
It wasn't in our packet.
Yeah, I must have printed it, put it in my stuff.
Yeah,
This is,
because
this is
I
from,
didn't send it out to you
this is
yesterday, I didn't have it.
from the Marine Advisory Committee, these notes.
So should we make a motion to accept the Marine Advisory Committee's language change? That'd be
We wanna get,
appropriate.
we wanna get clarification from Cherie first. She may have the official language that she wants to.
Well, you're
How-
on
how's
the
that go
Marine
with the
Fisheries
date?
Advisory
I need to
Board
check.
representing the commission.
She's out sick.
You-
Marty says she needs to check with Cherie. This is not gonna screw up our dates for rulemaking.
No, because there
Okay.
is, this is not expiring.
Okay,
So
because
it's not
federal.
like we're not under a gun to get it going. But it's just, they've already had the hearing on it, because they had the hearing on all the exempt rules. And then it was when I was going through it, I realized, hey, this isn't an exempt rule, we need to put it through the process.
So if we kick this to June for a vote, we're okay. Sounds reasonable?
Commissioner Tatone is a representation from that committee, which Cherie is part of. So is it,
But Cherie is answerable to Jill Carr, not Commissioner Tatone.
so
So I need to check with her to make sure I've got the right
does it
language.
make sense to put that through? Cherie has to work on the actual language to satisfy that, and if it contradicts this, then we come back in June. But I don't know if we need to kick the can, and Cherie can make the language that complies with what the vote is.
Well, I think we want to hear from Cherie, just to clarify it.
It's her,
Mr.
it's her
Chairman?
division.
We're on the Seco. Cherie is on Seco. Why isn't Cherie here?
She's out
She's
sick
sick.
today.
Not sick.
My stance on this is, we have a coastal commission. And that coastal commission is assigned to the Marine Resource Committee also. His job as a coastal commissioner is a little more unique than a regular commissioner. He's there for a reason. And the reason states that he reports back to this commission in regards to with the marine fisheries. I'm a big believer in that falls under our jurisdiction. Our authorities are on this rule. Am I wrong?
No, you can make a motion.
I just want to check with Cherie before I make any changes.
I have to agree with Mr. Stoll. Here we are in Seabrook. She's on the seacoast, she's not here.
Well, she's ill.
She's sick.
There you go. Okay, I understand. This was just handed to us. I don't want to kick it down the road. But I'll leave that up to this commission. If the commission wants to take a vote to wait till next month, then we'll wait till next month. If you want to take a vote on this now, we'll vote on it now. It's up to this commission.
Now, this whole dumping, no dumping in state water, would just be actually a clarification. You can't shuck at sea, they're gonna be shucked someplace. Just wanna make sure that when these shells do get dumped, they don't get dumped in state waters. I imagine they'll be shucked on the boat after dark. I don't want them just heading out to the mouth of the river and just dumping them off there.
Does the commissioner want to make any type of a motion?
I'll make the motion to wait till June.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to wait until June. Those in favor of waiting till June, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Opposed.
Can you please raise your hand who's opposed?
1, 2, 3.
Eric,
We have 4
Jim.
opposed,
Megan, and Ray.
2.
Thank you,
Okay, motion passes to wait till June.
thank you.
Second.
Okay, anything else?
The only other thing is, we managed to get a legislative committee meeting scheduled May 25th at 1 p.m. at HQ.
Yes.
We are assured
You
the
posted
conference
today.
room
It's on
is
the-
available.
It's on the website.
Okay. I think you were
In the
smart.
future, can I just ask that if any of you are gonna have a committee meeting, to please go through me, because there are people who have those rooms reserved for months, and it just makes me look really bad to have to kick them out on the spur of the moment. So if you can just like give me your recommended choice, and I'll try to accommodate that, but if I can't, I'll give you alternative dates.
I think if we ever got in a really bad pinch, we could probably get something at the DES just down the road, most likely.
Yeah.
They have more conference rooms than we do. They have a bigger building,
Mhm.
so.
Whether
that's an
it's not in
alternative.
use, that's
Yeah.
another
All right, why
thing.
don't you two have the conversation later? We do have the
All right.
protocol in place. Time is just reminding us to use. Nothing else for legislative committee?
No.
All right, governance committee.
Nothing to report.
Yep. Awesome. Moving right along here. Sustainability and strategic planning, Commissioner Hodson.
All of our letters asking for input are out, so that's all the letters to the legislature, all the letters to staff, and all the letters to the list of nonprofits that you all looked at at a prior meeting, and included is a copy of the letter that went out to the nonprofit organizations. And I just want to recognize Tanya for her
Thank you.
support. She
Thank you.
couldn't have got them out the door without you,
Thank
so
you.
thank you for that.
You're
And
welcome.
the legislative and staff ones are due the end of this month. The ones, the nonprofits are due end of third week in June. So they're all out, and as I receive them back, I'm gonna anonymize them, collect all the comments, and we'll have a committee meeting where we'll review them.
Commissioner Hodgson.
What's the deadline for the comments? Sorry,
For,
for responses from the stakeholders?
well, they're tiered, so the legislators and the staff is the end of May,
Yep.
Friday before Memorial Day. And then the one for the nonprofits, because the nonprofit one went out via mail, just took a little longer, is, yeah, it's in the letter.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
like the end
I
of the
did-
third week in June.
Thank you.
Anything else, sir?
That's it.
Okay, Resources and Infrastructure Committee.
Nothing to report. Our next meeting is scheduled for June the 13th. Fish and Game headquarters. And we'll have Tony post that appropriately.
Is it prior to the next meeting, Bruce? It's June 20th, I think, right?
20th, excuse me. I was thinking the second
Yeah,
Tuesday.
no
is the
problem.
third
Just wanted
Tuesday.
to clarify.
It's the 20th.
Anything else? Okay, Public Engagement and Education.
Nothing to report.
Lakes Management Advisory Committee.
We are good.
The most recent update is that quite a number of watershed assistance grants were issued by the DES. It was $510,000 for 7 projects. I can distribute this via email to the rest of the commission if you'd like to see if any of your counties were involved in this, but that's the latest that those grants were awarded.
That'd be a nice idea. Gives you something to do. Thank you for volunteering that. Anything else on that committee? New Hampshire Rivers.
No, that committee hasn't met since we last met.
Any old business? Okay, under new business, I have, I think, 4 things that I want to bring up. First one is that in the end of June, well, the next commission meeting in June, is when the commission is required to vote for their executive offices of president, vice president, chairman, vice chair, and clerk. For the committee on that, I am assigning Commissioner Caveney and Commissioner LaChance. Commissioner Caveney will chair that committee, and as a reminder to all the commissioners, when they call to see if you're looking for a position, please return their phone calls. If they do not receive a phone call, it'll be considered you don't want any position. So that's my first thing, because we will be holding elections in the June meeting. The next item that I'd like to first welcome the fact that Commissioner Hodgson has been nominated for another term by the governor. So hopefully in the next frame of time that she will be getting confirmed. And on the line of nominations, I'll make it known right now, I am not seeking another term on the commission. So to that committee, you don't need to call me because I won't be going on any executive position. My term ends in June, and I will not be seeking another term.
Chairman Green, will you continue to serve?
I will be
As a
continuing to serve
Until-
by the law
Okay.
until a person is confirmed to that position. In other words, if nobody's confirmed by the end of June, I will continue. I will not leave Hillsborough County unaccounted for. But hopefully somebody jumps in there rather. No, I will fill my duties as promised. Anything else under new business? All right, I ran out of the others. All right. I covered them all, I think, under one speech. Is there something you wanted to add under new business?
Not really.
Okay. Commission reports. Any commissioner have anything they'd like to report? Go ahead, Susan, I know you'll jump right.
Well, Commissioner LaChance and I, for the second year in a row, we're going to go to the award ceremony on May 21st for the Mini Derby. It's around 1 o'clock, so we'll be there. And Diane assures me the fisheries biologist will be
I will
there
be
this
there.
year. You're going to be there.
Woohoo!
All right. And as well as some COs, I expect, usually.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and also we did receive I received another request for a follow-up on a presentation, another search and rescue presentation at the Mouldsboro Library for the people from away. So I'll be in touch with Kevin and the Colonel and Scott and you and the rotation, and we'll get something set up. It was very well received the first time, so looking forward to a second go around.
Okay, any other commissioner? Commissioner Caveney?
Yeah, I just offer this, perhaps if other commissioners have received a call similar to this, I'd kind of like to know. But as a result of the opportunity going forward to register online, deer, turkeys, I've had people who are not all in my county, but hunters who have called, and I have no idea where they were through this process, but are saddened almost by the fact that they will not have a tag, okay? They will get a paper
You mean the seal?
receipt.
You mean the seal?
The
plastic
seal,
seal?
yes.
So they'll still have a tag.
No,
Yes,
no,
but
we're talking about the seal.
It's the plastic seal, which used to be metal at one time. And hunters who are successful, especially a first-time hunter, okay, hangs this seal on the wall, on their first buck, near their hunting jacket or whatever. And these people, and I had 6 calls, and I actually, for what it's worth, received a call one evening, and it was from a sporting goods store, gun shop, with people there. Thankfully, only one person did the talking, but was speaking for a group. So I don't know truthfully how many people out there are saddened by the fact that they will not have this seal. So I'm not suggesting that we do anything about that, but I'm just saying, if anybody else has heard this, I'd like to know that they didn't just have my phone number, but literally 6 calls, and one of them with multiple people on the end of the phone. And interesting. I don't know what to say. You know, I know duck hunters collect bands. You know, they wear them on the string of their calls, and people want to be able to demonstrate that, you know, that they have the seal from their first take at whatever age, or maybe their 50th take. I don't know, but I just think it's interesting. May I?
What, continue?
Yes.
How can I stop you?
Good luck. I have to ask because the colonel keeps nodding his head. Have you heard this, Colonel? Forgive me.
And as a collector of those myself for many years, it is a novelty. Couple things I want to remind the commission. It's the age we're coming to, unfortunately, and I'm an old dinosaur and I'm not happy about it either. But I want to remind you that that was not something we had a lot of input in either. The legislature brought that, so we kind of jumped on board, and Dan and I did. I'll throw Dan under the bus with me, because we were afraid of what he was going to create if we didn't work with him. And we came up with a system that, my bigger concern is the data we got from the on-site visits of those deer registrations is very important. And so I worry that someone can go home and register a 250-pound buck when it really is a 125-pound deer. So that data will be, we're concerned about it being skewed a bit. So we took control of it, tried to. But yes, I've heard that many times. I've heard that's part of the tradition of going there with fathers and sons and daughters, and they get their first deer, all of those things. There will be a time when they can do that. Still, we're still allowing some of that at the very beginning of it, but you're right, it's not unusual. And I tell people the same thing, that this is the age we're moving to.
Yeah, even the leg seals by necessity have to go away. We'll still, even with paper and electronic stations, have multiple ways we're registering individual animals, and the tracking of that information is very difficult. So out of necessity, we have to remove the leg seals. That was going to be quite an additional, originally, if we were going to keep those, that was going to be quite an additional expense and commitment for S3 to work out the tracking of those seals. It's a huge burden. It's always been a huge burden for Linda to track those manually. So again, because of the multiple methods, if we had paper stations, electronic in-person stations, somebody doing it online, and then leg seals to boot, it would just be a nightmare to track all that data. But I mean, I have a few of those myself. I get it, but out of necessity, like the Colonel was saying, is kind of the way of the future.
Yep.
Something.
You got that too, Tam, if it was just me.
Thanks.
My pleasure. Commissioner Hodson. I'm all right, I know the run. I know the run.
You're gonna miss me.
I got it.
Just to clarify, Colonel, you had said something about there's still gonna be an opportunity. There's an opportunity for them to register deer in person every day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and-
Yes, there still will be, yes.
Yeah.
But no seal.
No,
They
no.
won't get the seat.
No seal, and I get the managing two different systems, and, I think I just want to add a comment as somebody who was a big proponent of the online deer registration. I represent the Rockingham County. It's not the same in Rockingham County as it is in other parts of the state. So if we could manage without it, I would be all for it, but I think using the language sign of the times, right? Look at where you are today. There's not a convenience store, mom and pop shop on the corner that's registering deer and that's open all the hours. So I hear it, and I think it's a little bit sad personally at times, and I caution and then looking forward to seeing how the data turns out as well. But I don't see any other option in this part. And look around as you drive home today, you're in a different part of the state.
So Commissioner Caveney, if you're wondering where you get all the phone calls, tonight when I get home, I'm changing to her number now. Gonna let her take it from her. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I do.
Mr. Temple?
Yeah, just a quick question. A couple of years ago, we got the search and rescue boat, the big one.
Yes.
Is that still up and running well?
Safety boat?
The safety boat?
Safe vote.
Safe
Fast
boat,
boat,
yes.
Colonel.
Yes, that's running very well, yes.
Okay.
The donated safe boat?
Yeah.
Yes, we have that. We have a donated airboat that we got through a grant. It was another $80,000. We've had almost $2 million worth of equipment that has been donated.
And the safe boat is here on the seacoast?
The safe boat is over in Portsmouth, yes.
Portsmouth.
Yes.
Long Pond.
I'd like to see that sometime. I
That
just
is
didn't know
quite a
where it was.
craft.
I'll
We
call
can-
ahead.
We can take you out for a ride, and it's quite a boat.
Can you flip it over?
It's very safe, that's the thing about it. The thing I like about it is you can send them out on rough seas and not worry about them now. You know,
That'd be a
you'll
good
close
day to
down.
bring them out, Colonel.
What's that?
It's a good day to bring them out.
Yes, yes,
Okay, thank you.
Show them the Isle of Shoals.
there you go.
I'm all set.
You all set now? All right,
Well, it's not quite as good as the Coast Guard with self-riding and self-pumping. So you can-
absolutely.
So you can roll them over and keep right on going.
I'll take another shot here.
Unlike the Coast Guard, we don't roll boats over. You can tell the Coast Guard I sent you.
Careful, Colonel. Chairman Stoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last week, I attended the Connecticut Lake Citizens Advisory Committee meeting that meets quarterly and sometimes only semi-annually. And again, the topic up there was ATV activity on that tract of land that we own quite a chunk of it. There's a recreational committee, which I'm on, that has a meeting coming up within the next month, and we're gonna aggressively attack the ATV issue up there. On the track itself, there's 11 miles of ATV trails, and they're seeking 70 more miles of ATV trails. They can't take care of the 11 miles that they have, say nothing about an additional 70, so more to come on that subject. And I'm scheduled to go to a meeting of the Northern Borders on a week from today. Colonel, are you gonna be there?
I can't make that, Commissioner, I wanted to, but I'm not gonna be able to make that. I may have the captain go with that.
It's a high-powered meeting.
Yes.
Colonel, the Commissioner of Safety, that level, they're all gonna be there, and it deals with, I think, the governor's request to enforce the border laws, and what discussion's gonna take place, and dispatch issues, and law enforcement issues. I'm just going to see if our boys in green might be thrown into the mix, and if so, what comes with it. So,
Oh, you're certainly right up there at the border.
yeah, I'm close enough. That's all, sir.
Anybody else?
I have something I'd like to read.
What?
I have something I'd like to read.
Okay, you can.
Following the biennial process, I went home and thought about it. I wrote it this last month, so maybe it's dated a little bit. But I'd just like to state the obvious. Last month, during our discussion of a proposed change to the coyote hunting season, Commissioner Temple asked the chair, "Did you see the public comments?" The reference was to the many suggestions we received during biennial season setting, asking the department to close coyote hunting during the summer months. A complaint that we hear often is that the non-hunting public is not heard during this process, and the department shows no sign of adjusting the seasons in response to the suggestions. I fully realize why the department doesn't make such changes. It's because the department is staffed by biologists that follow science and don't waver to urban myths. Urban myths washed and rinsed through social media and stated as fact. Urban myths and claims of specific animal behavior that have developed during my lifetime include bats control mosquitoes, opossums control ticks, and coyotes control mice. My senior year at UNH, my capstone wildlife management course, Dr. Levitas lectured, Prudent Predator. The take-home message was that predators do not control prey. Prey, in fact, control predators through population cycles. That lecture, in 27 years in business, crawling through raspberry patches and ferns and all that, have assured me of these facts. When the spring, summer, and fall weather is wet and damp, expect ticks and mosquitoes. When the weather is windy, dry, and arid, expect fewer ticks and mosquitoes. When the forest produces an abundance of seeds and nuts, be ready for the rodents. When there has been 2 consecutive years of poor acorn, beechnut, maple, ash seed production, the mice will die off from lack of food. What doesn't affect their population is the plug-in ultrasonic gadget you have in the garage, or the red fox that may occasionally visit your backyard. The comments we received were dominated by the suggestion that by overhunting coyotes, there would be an increase in human Lyme disease cases, as the mice are going to be uncontrolled by coyotes removed by hunters. And by overhunting coyotes, hunters are triggering an innate breeding response that causes larger litter, which in turn makes coyote population increase. So which is it? are individuals providing comment asking for more or less Lyme disease. This is what I know to be true. Coyotes outcompete and outright kill red foxes. Red foxes are excellent mousers. Coyotes are marginal mousers who move on to consume whatever is next or easily available. Hence, they are a prudent predator in that they feed on a wide variety of plants, animal and plants. They are so abundant and the numbers of them killed during the summer so inconsequential, I would prefer the department spend its limited resources studying other species. I would like to thank department staff, Mr. Bergeron, Mr. Timmons, and all the other staff for staying the course during this public comment period of mistruths and urban myths and outright lies, and sticking to solid science for managing and guarding our healthy wildlife populations here in New Hampshire. That's it from Grafton County.
Any other,
I would like to make a motion to assure that Commissioner DeVos, I would like to make a motion to assure that Commissioner DeVos' paper, his position is in the record, our minutes in its entirety.
Yeah, I'd like a copy of that if I could. Thank you.
does any other commissioner have
Thank you.
anything?
That's seconded.
Yeah, you don't need to make a motion when he reads something like that, it has to go in the minutes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I would like to back up a little tiny bit back to new business while you were right. I did have 4 items about one. Director Mason and I had the discussion last week on upcoming meetings, and we've come up with July, August, and September to be held in Concord.
June too?
We're already holding June in Concord.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm gonna get to the other section of June. July, August, and September will be held in Concord, and that, do I have a motion on? What? Okay. I saw your
I'll
hand
second
in
it.
your hand.
Yeah, I'll second
You're
it.
making the motion, you second it. Any discussion? Not hearing any. Motion is to have July, August, and September at headquarters in Concord. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. We'll see everybody July, August, and September in Concord. Scott, the one we discussed, you can bring up that under your report, because I don't have an issue with it.
Okay.
Mr. Temple?
Yes, thank you. I wondered, would it be appropriate to, after hearing from Paul, would it be appropriate for this group who voted to come back or ask the executive director to come back with things about coyotes in 2 or 3 months? Would it be appropriate to rescind that request?
We've had one on
I mean, it
the
sounds like
hounding
we've
that
got
got
science.
involved in coyotes. I mean, I
I
guess
thought-
that'd be up to the commission if they want to do that.
Right, so you can't rescind the motion that Megan,
I was just asking if it's an
It was
appropriate
very,
thing to do.
so yes.
I don't believe that Paul's letter changes my ask
right.
of the department, but thank you for the opportunity.
Any other commissioner reports? Not hearing any? I'm sorry, Mr. Titone.
Okay, last week at that Marine Advisory Committee, it was announced that the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission did approve Addendum 27 to the lobster regulations. This has to deal with the decline in the amount of juvenile lobsters that have settled into the bottom since 2012. The last settlement survey was done, there was a 21% decline in the amount of juvenile lobsters they found on the bottom. So with that in mind, and the concern that this is going to affect future populations of lobsters and the industry itself, the commission decided that if there is a year where there's a 35% decline in the amount of juvenile lobsters that settle to the bottom, there's going to be a resulting increase in the gauge size for the size of the legal lobster. So now what they're going to try to do is improve the brood stock, because if they increase the gauge size, that'll give females a greater opportunity to breed and to increase egg production in lobsters. So the triggering event would be the 35% reduction in the juvenile settlement to the bottom. So that'll be on the next survey. That happens to take place in 2024. So if any action would take place, it won't be until after 2024.
I will say it's very refreshing to get a report from the Coastal, by the way.
Do they know what's causing that? Does that have to do with warming waters and what is it, black bass or something, or rock bass, or?
There's a whole combination of things. It could be the warming waters. It's the lack of feed, which is also affecting the right whales, because the same species that right whales feed off of, the juvenile lobsters feed off of when they're up to the surface of the ocean after the eggs are hatched. So it could be that. Right now, they call it the great disconnect, because the amount of egg production right now is at an all-time high. But the settlement at the bottom is declining, like I said, since 2012. So they're trying to figure out what exactly is causing this. If it continues to decline, there could be a raised crisis for the industry itself.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Director's report.
No, actually,
Okay.
I had a couple of questions.
Then we can follow up with your.
One thing I was gonna say, is that I know we've, that Cherie's group is doing some research on this subject matter. We had to bring some contracts before GNC, as far as these immature lobsters and what's happening. So I know there's active research that we're participating in. I think we're one of multiple sites on the coast.
Josh Carlone from the Fish and Game Biologist, he's heading up the research on this settlement issue with the lobsters.
My other question I had, during the lobster scuba diving bill, there was, I apologize, I don't remember the lobsterman that came and testified, but he said that the that the Atlantic Marine Fisheries Council was looking at changing the rules on lost traps. Right now, when you get your trap tags, you get a certain amount for the lost ones, and they were going to change that process.
With the trap tags, depending upon what category of license you have, you're allowed a 10% supplement over and above the number of traps you're allowed. That is going to be discontinued under this addendum 27.
Okay.
So if you have a 600 trap license, in the past you were allowed to get 660 trap tags to compensate for traps you may have lost. So now what they're going to do, if you're only going to get your 600, and if you lose traps, you're going to have to verify or document how you lost them before you can get supplemental tags to replace those.
Director's report.
Yeah, sorry. So, at our June commission meeting, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has agreed to attend and give a presentation on the Bear Hill project that they're working on in southern Grafton County. My comments to them is, update the commission on what the project looks like and, where you're at in your process, and also to talk about the process of writing rules as you buy land and what happens during that process between the purchase of the land and the land going through all the processes during the preserve. So that'll be at our June meeting. If any commissioners have other questions that they wish to ask, I would like those by June 1st, just to give the folks a heads up. Deer in the headlights doesn't look good on any of us, and we will get much better answers to questions if they get the questions ahead of time.
Questions for the forestry or
For the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, anybody that, if you have questions beyond the Bear Hill or anything like that, it would just, it would behoove all of us to get them to them ahead of time so that they can either make sure that they're in tune. It's like anything else. If I send Dan in and to a meeting and all of a sudden a bunch of inland fisheries questions get asked, you're not going to get as good answers if Diane goes too. So there's a little bit of that, and just prepping for what the program.
Do you know if they're going to address how the U.S. Fish and Wildlife is handling hunting restrictions on federal properties? Specifically, I've gotten a lot of feedback from people in the state about federal lands being restricted for hounding or difficult processes that are outside of essentially what we're passing as a state or our requirements as a state.
We can get that added to the list.
Thank you.
And
I'd like to see it kept to that land, you know, pertaining to the land, because, you know, keep in mind, that's open meeting.
Are you talking about the federal lawsuit that
No,
people
there's,
filed for the rule?
I've had a number of rabbit houndsmen, beaglers,
Yeah.
who have sent me photos of the signs that are posted up on a lot of the
Yep.
federal properties that I think they're required to pull a permit from the federal government.
Right,
to
currently
do
you're
it.
allowed 2 dogs per hunter. So if you're going out and they're enforcing it, you know, let's say you own all the dogs, but you 4 are out hunting the rabbits together, and you have 7 dogs, that's less than 2 per person, so no issue. If you have 9 dogs, now you have more than 2 per person, and you need to get a special use permit for that. My understanding is that they are issuing them. Whether or not people are having problems or not with that, I'm not sure.
Jump right in.
With respect to this process, Director, has U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service said anything about explanation and public hearings on this latest process that they're engaged in?
Yes, so if you folks remember, I sent you a copy of the newspaper article that had links to the proposed rule changes, and that is a response. Their process, in general, their process, I believe, is a 14-month process. So they actually have to start 2 months before the end of last year in order to have rules ready for next year. And what they end up doing is and this is what I think created quite a stir this last time, especially on the Silvio Conte Wildlife Refuge, is they published proposed rules, and they took public comments, and then from those public comments, they dramatically changed the rules that they published and went forth through their rulemaking process, which is a little different than ours. They publish it through the Federal Register. And I think that's what created a lot of issues, were that the rules that get published never were published for public comment. So what they've done is they've taken those rules that they put in, and they've allowed, we are now in a public comment session once again, and that's what that article was about, was that, you know, they're gonna take public comments and then, run the rule process over again, just to make sure that public comments.
May 25th is the deadline on that.
Right. Yeah. But I guess my question should have been more clear.
No.
Public hearings.
Yes.
The-
I'm not familiar enough. I think what they end up doing is not so much a hearing, but a public comment period. So you have to, people that want to make comments on the rules have to write in and make it, I'm sure it's an electronic version more, but I would assume that they mail an electronic version. I don't believe that they have a location where there's a hearing where you end up being able to go and testify verbally.
And I think that's because they're federal rules, and if you're a United States citizen, you have a right to comment, and it's not practical to attend a hearing in Washington or New Hampshire.
Well, continue. With all due respect, okay, I remember the process that the feds went through regarding the existing reservation, which is in Canaan, Orford, and Lyme, and there were public hearings held at the Lebanon Town Library, and I know because I attended. And they were standing room only into the parking lot with respect to people wanting to make comment. So, I have yet been able to find out if in fact they would host literally a public meeting with the ability to go to a microphone and make comment and address the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. That is my question.
So they hold public hearings when they're creating a new refuge. But on their rulemaking process, I don't believe they do. But that would be a better question for you. my basic understanding.
Right.
Get this map.
They do have public hearings on rules. We went, the select board of Columbia went over to St. John's Ferry for the Silvio Conte. They had a rule change, and it had to do with the Mohegan branch of Silvio Conte. I can't remember what the rule was, but the place was packed. It was the St. John's Ferry Academy auditorium, and you went, had a microphone, and you could also submit written.
Was it a rule change, or was it the purchase of Blueberry Swamp?
No, they already had Blueberry
Okay.
Swamp. Yeah, no, this is a rule change, and I can't remember what it was. No.
I think it would be helpful for the commissioners to know what is the metric for holding a public hearing versus just taking comments. I think it would be helpful if we, knew what triggers a public hearing versus just comments to the Federal Register.
Do we as a commission submit something as our own feedback? As, I mean,
Well, the
clarification.
director just asked if the commissioners would send in any questions they had.
Well, I'm
Well,
saying
that's for the
for an
presentation.
official recommendation, meaning like, and I guess this would be a question for the colonel. If something happens on that federal land, it would still be your officers that are enforcing those laws, right?
Probably more so our officers than the feds, because they don't have staff.
So my question would be, why, like, is there a process that as a commission, we're making our own recommendations directly towards them for the rulemaking
I
process?
think that's in order.
The department usually makes comments on proposed rule changes, and I have Dan working on a draft now. Don't
For
know-
the Silvo Conte. You have
Well,
the-
on any rule
Oh.
changes in New Hampshire, we have multiple refuges in New Hampshire. I know we got one down on the seacoast, we got Umbabagog, we've got Silvio Conte, and I'm missing one, Dan, or maybe more. And Silvio Conte is not necessarily contiguous. You've got some in Columbia, we have some down in Jefferson, we have some in Lancaster, and then now this section down here in southern Grafton County. And I don't think there's any in Cheshire or Sutherland, is there?
No, there was,
Yeah.
there were 2 attempts, and the town governments voted it down. They did not want the feds to do it. One was in Richmond, and the most recent one was in the towns of Gilsum and Marlow. And they were up the tributaries, up the Cold River, Gilsum and Marlow, and both towns said no thank you. And 15 years ago, it's actually in minutes of Fish and Game Commission meeting, okay, where in the town of Richmond, they came up the Ashwellet River, went up Roaring Brook, got to a large TMO-owned woodland property, and the town of Richmond said, we do not want you to do this. And it was
That's the Silvio Conte one.
that was
Yeah,
Silvio
that was
Conte.
part of Silvio Conte.
There's
It was all
Pondicherry,
tributary
part
to
of
the
it,
Connecticut.
Pondicherry.
So, just so everybody understands, Silvio Conte, if the water flows to the Connecticut River, that's Silvio Conte.
Yeah.
So any land that's in that watershed, it is the only watershed refuge in the United States. So, and if you think back to about the time frame when that was built, watersheds were a huge conservation issue, still are, but that's when that whole idea of trying to work on watershed issues, the big bay down in Maryland, Chesapeake Bay, all the work that went on. I mean, that there's conservation work that went way upstate into New York, that far away, trying to change the water quality issues down in Chesapeake. So, it was that time frame in the 90s when these theories got started and going. So this is the only one. Dan, which one am I forgetting in New Hampshire? I apologize.
There's Carter Blue.
Yeah,
Carter Blue,
that's part of
Ashwood,
yeah.
Fish Hatchery, Wapak.
Well, refuge is what I'm talking
Refuge,
about. Yeah.
Wapak,
What?
Wapak down in Cheshire, there isn't that Cheshire? Or no, Hillsborough. It's just
Hillsborough County, it's on the town line.
Okay. So we actually, total acres, we don't have that huge acreage here in New Hampshire that they have over in Vermont or some of the other states.
Is
So-
Fish and Game acquiring any of that land?
No,
What?
yeah, that's a federal project, not a state project.
Or would we consider that as acquiring an access?
So they, part of their qualification, once again, is the public access component to it, as well as habitat management. Just like when we acquire an easement on, because these will be easement purchases down in
When
Southern
you say the
Grafton.
habitat management and public access,
Yeah, that'll be managed by
Who's
U.S.
go-
Fish and Wildlife
who's,
Service.
who's gonna handle the habitat management and public access? That'll come under you, Kevin, right?
No, that'll come under U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. They'll make the decisions on habitat management and types of public access that are acceptable on the property,
All right,
like we do on ours.
I think where there's any concern on access, for public access, regardless of who the access falls under, to me, any person in the state of New Hampshire would have access to that. I think that would fall under the commission having a say in it. Am I wrong, am I right?
Is your comment relative to Commissioner DeRosa's comment about if the commission takes a stance and provides written comments? Is that what you're speaking to?
Well, the directors asked any commissioner if they want any questions asked. I want to make sure we're falling within the authorities of the commission. If the commission has any authority on that.
You wouldn't have any authority over,
Well, it's federal, I think this is what you're gonna say, at the end of it, it's federal government, they're gonna do what they want, but
Right.
at least we could make a recommendation to how we feel as a state who's ultimately enforcing the laws in our wildlands, how things are done. I think they can only take it as a recommendation, they can't be forced to follow.
Oh, we can't force it.
Right.
You're right.
Yeah,
But I think we have these,
but you,
we should be able to have some input into it
yeah, exactly,
as a commission under access.
yep.
And I think the discussion was that Dan was working on some comments, so if there's comments
Correct.
coming from the department, should those be comments that the commission is participating and I guess approving, because that falls under commissioner responsibilities on taking positions on legislation that affect fish, game, marine resources, and access.
deadline's the 25th,
Yeah, we won't meet.
so you won't meet in time to have that happen. I did send out that email to each and every one of you. So if you wanted to bring it back to the commission, it would have been better to warn me ahead of time so we could have been ready for today.
For future,
For sure,
yeah.
I think there's two things, right? The here, the now, what's on the table, but then aligning on scope of responsibilities moving forward.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if we miss the vote on this one, we potentially miss the vote on this one.
I have a question for the director. I received this notice, I think you sent it to us.
Yeah.
On the Migratory Bird Commission. Did we send somebody to this meeting, or?
Jim attended the meeting.
Oh, okay. All right. So we were represented.
Yeah. That meeting was, we didn't physically send him, he participated vis-a-vis Zoom.
Teams.
Okay, any other questions for the director? Good. Good.
I don't want to disappoint. So just want to make sure clear, there's still an opportunity, the director's asking us for questions for the presenter from U.S. Fish and Wildlife next week. So we
Right.
can
So
still
if I can
follow
get
up
those by June 1st.
1st with any questions for that
Right.
presentation specifically.
Right.
Send them to you directly.
Just send them to me and I'll get them off the
Thank you.
Wildlife Service.
Do you have anything else?
So the other thing is July, we will have Cherie here to speak on the offshore wind project.
I agree with that.
Wales.
Anything else? Good.
That's it.
Okay, call to the public.
Before we go there,
Whoa.
Mr. Chairman,
Time on.
I'm back on commission meeting. June, July, August, September, and Concord. So in other words, during the winter months, we're gonna be on the road.
I saw that.
In October, we want to come up and see.
Under,
Want to go grab some?
I'm just saying, Coas County is one of the stops.
could I
in
answer
October.
him, please? Number one, under the chairman's job, he recommends 2 to 3 off-site locations. We've already had one this year, we're at it now. So that puts us with 1 so far this year. And the reason why I agreed to that is because after our elections, the next chairman, I think it's fair that he gets to choose where he would like to have another off-site. Does not mean that the commission is gonna spend the winter off-site.
Good, we just raised that question.
No problem at all, Eric.
Ray, I have a question to the commission.
For the commission, right?
Yeah, 2 years ago, we were a little late in having our biannual, meetings, you know, not talking about seasons, but talking about
Yep.
the Fish and Game Department. What months would the commission like those held in? We held them in December, we get pretty late in December, my plan would be to have them early December. And remember, these meetings are held in Concord and Lancaster, so.
That's up to the commission. I myself, I had a rough time coming back from Lancaster this last time.
When was that? Was that April?
We followed, I followed you.
If you were that one in the white car, I'm not impressed.
My car is black.
I would think, not only for the commissioners, but for the public, I'd like to stay out of Lancaster in the wintertime.
Excuse me.
Well, that was
That's my
rules.
opinion.
That was rules.
I think years ago, there was a motion made by a commissioner to hold the commission, these hearings in December consecutively. I can't tell you what year, that's gonna require some research, but a motion has been made. You can change it.
But I think in all fairness, I would like to leave that up to the next chairman.
That's fine.
You know, if you're gonna ask me, I'm not in favor of going to Lancaster in November, December, January, or February.
Well, I
Okay?
think you would not
Miami
want,
sounds good.
yeah, I don't think you'd wanna have these hearings
No.
during hunting
No, but
season. I think you'd either wanna
You know,
have
under the
them
rulemaking,
September or,
we've met the requirements, we've held our
Yeah.
away meetings.
yeah.
And I believe, for clarification, they must be done by the end of the calendar year.
That's
So
right.
it can't
Because
go
we
into
also
January.
have a deadline to have everything going up. The one thing that will last to save us a lot of headaches, Marty, I'm gonna get you to smile yet. Let's watch the holidays stay far. Okay?
Yeah, we, so by law, we have to have locations in Concord and
Yes,
Lancaster.
yes, we do.
And we have to get it done by the end of the calendar year.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to start a discussion so that we can get advertising done if we're gonna try to do it.
I think for everybody's
Before
sake,
seasons.
my opinion, a little bit earlier. But that'll be up to, I'd rather leave that up to the next chairman.
Okay.
I am reading
I'll be fishing.
20611, and there's nothing in there about what time throughout that odd number here, so there's nothing there.
Correct.
Would,
No, you are required by law to have one up in Lancaster
yes.
and in Keene
Concord.
and Concord. And then Derek's question, we do have the, up to the chairman to can hold up to 2 to
20611.
what?
Sorry, it was RSA 206.
I'm done with RSA. We can hold away meetings. I want to leave that one up to the next chairman. We've held one so far, and that's today. And I go back to call to the public. Anybody from the public? Please. Even though I know you, full name, where you're from, please.
Christina Snyder, Chester, New Hampshire. So, I listened to what Commissioner DeBoe read out there, and, you know, one of the points to that was, if I'm understanding it correctly, that the coyote has an impact on the red fox and possibly the gray fox as well. And I'm not going to argue against that. However, for a very long time, before Commissioner DeBoe was a commissioner, members of the public have been saying, can we look at the fox populations? Can we do something about the fox populations? And several years ago, the chief biologist here said that at that point the foxes were in a sharp decline and said we should limit to 5. And the outrage, and Commissioner DeBoe was a member of the public at that time, he was leading the charge saying we're not going to do anything about the fox, we should have unlimited. We don't know how many humans take foxes. See, that's the problem that I'm trying to get across when I say you're not listening to the public, is you only hear what you want to hear, and you're not understanding the full picture. It's very frustrating, because quite a few of the commissioners, the lens that you view things, I think Commissioner Stoll at the last meeting in June said, I will never ever support an anti-hunting law, rule, bill. What does that mean? Is that what he perceives, what his personal perception is as an anti-hunting bill? That's not science. There is a systemic problem here. And one of the commissioners, after the meeting, in her car.
All right, I'm gonna stop you right there.
I'll finish up, I'll skip that, but you know, we have to listen. We sit here quietly and we listen. And this is the only chance. These meetings aren't recorded.
And I understand
There's
your
no,
concern,
it's
but
very
you-
hard for the public to even get to these meetings. So all I'm saying is I'm trying to rush home. I get shut down when I speak. And, you know, case in point. We just want to be heard. We want to be heard. And I'll tell you though, we do have a little bit of power, and that is social media. And at least the videos that we put out, the little snippet I put out, which was 1 minute, 4 seconds, that was viewed 27,000 times. So the public outside of this room, and thank you for the member of the public here filming these so that people can know what's going on. And I'll tell you, if nothing changes and there's no relent, the one option that can be taken down the road is what can happen is you will find, if you don't listen and concede even just a little bit, 1 week less of hunting for the gray squirrel, what would that do? Nothing. What you'll find is more land will get posted. I guarantee it. So keep doing what you're doing, or listen and make some changes. And don't just be here for the hunters and the trappers and the anglers. It's not too much to ask, because I contribute to conservation. I do a lot that none of you even know or none of you even care about. Right now you're not even looking at me, you're staring down, you're doing whatever. Trust me, this has been coming on a decade. One of the last legal person that was here representing Fish and Game, when he knew he was on his way out, he pulled me aside, he says, Christina, build a case. You better believe I'm building a case. The lawsuit that will happen this year, it's not going to be the first one. You can only keep throwing rocks until the damage gets done. And we'll keep doing it because you're not listening. I've tried to work, I've tried to listen, I've tried to be friends, I've tried to communicate. There you go. I'm done.
No. My thing on this, I want to be clear, I was not stopping you from talking. You know there's a process if you have a complaint against a commission. This commission cannot take a complaint on a commission.
It's not a complaint, it's just a statement of fact of what happened at the last meeting. That's it.
I understand.
Can I ask a question about that?
The what?
Can I ask a question about that?
Go ahead.
No.
Dan?
No question.
No.
Can I ask a question?
No, this is our moment. This is the public's moment right now.
I think I can follow.
Oh, I thought you had a question for somebody from the public.
Okay, I'll ask Christine. can you find in your social media cache when the chief biologist used the term sharp decline in the fox population? I'd like to see that.
I have it. I have it. I
Okay,
have it
thank you.
verified. And you know, I mean,
That's all I'm
I
asking.
was there, and no one listens. No one listens. You have not listened to Mr. Bosworth, who has many letters after his name, many credentials, and you don't give him the time of day. You never have, and I don't understand it.
Okay, anybody else?
Go ahead.
Yeah, for public comment? No,
Yes.
Okay, and seated, is that?
The what?
Seated? Okay.
can
just follow-
stand.
No, it's okay, just follow protocol.
Stand.
It's
Stand
okay.
or sit?
It's okay. My voice projects. And I'm short, I saw that there wasn't a minute limit, but this will just be a couple minutes. My name's Krista Rose, and I'll just read off of a prepared statement. I'm not a resident of New Hampshire. I'm here to speak for a regional thing. I'm a native of both New Jersey and New York. And it's very good to be here with you guys in person. Tanya, I was going to thank you after that. I'll do this right now. Thank you. We've been communicating for a bit. So I'm very happy to be here in person. I simply want to introduce myself and bring some attention to a wildlife and ecology initiative that's been developing in the Northeast. It's relevant for New Hampshire because of its percent forest cover and forest-associated species that can range far. I've personally started something called the Northeastern Puma Project, which you can check out at northeasternpumaproject.net. But there's also a Cougar Research Collaborative that's been generating peer-reviewed research on different aspects of cougar recovery, including social science research throughout the eastern United States. So that group has one paper out already on habitat suitability and a few more in the pipeline. There were also 2 events this spring that are now past, but they further demonstrate work that's been going on this front. The first was a session of talks on eastern puma recovery. A few of us representing different groups gave at the Northeastern Natural History Conference in Burlington. That was Earth Day weekend. And then the second event was a symposium on rewilding North American species at the NIAFWA conference, the Northeastern Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies in Hershey. That was just two weeks ago. Director Mason, I'm not sure if you went to that or not. Yeah, it wasn't, okay. But there was, so that whole event, but also a symposium, and the Cougar Research Collaborative gave 4 talks during the one rewilding symposium. So some really high level and good quality work is being done exploring puma recovery east of current breeding populations, but for it all to go forward, we need to engage entities like state wildlife agencies, of course, which is why these meetings are so important. And I just wanted to come and meet with you and bring this kind of fresh collective energy to your attention if you guys didn't know about it yet. So thank you. Be happy to talk about it more. Absolutely. Thank you.
Joan?
Yeah, Joan O'Brien, Amherst. I just also wanted to quickly respond to Commissioner DeBoe's statement. And what I was hearing from that was maybe coyotes aren't as useful as we people who want them hunted less claim. And maybe there's more than we believe that there are. But for many of us who made comments about how the coyotes are treated, it was more to do with the treating them differently than other species and not giving them the same reprieve to raise their young as is afforded to other species. It was just singling them out. And I just wanted to add that.
Thank you, Joan. Anybody else? Stand up.
Whoa. Knees that good.
You don't have to stand up, Dan, just, you know.
I'm Dan Zarkum, and I'm from Gilmanton, New Hampshire, lifelong resident of Belknap County. And my question would be on the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and I may be wrong. My idea, or what I thought I've learned in the past, is that they can manage endangered species or recovering species. But when it comes to all the rest of our wildlife, the management is up to whatever state you're in. And that's not really happening. They've got, in the Silvio Conte, I can't remember names and all, but one of the further north ones only allows grouse hunting with dogs. Nobody else can go in with rabbit dogs, bear dogs, whatever. Also, It's all gonna be done in daylight hours, and the only time you can hunt coon is at night. And nobody hunts the rest at night for good reasons. But anyway, I wonder if somebody could verify, I don't know if Kevin would know if that's right, but is that the way it should be? In other words, this, no endangered species, but the state that this is, you know, the refuge is in, manages the wildlife. And they're, like, they only allow 2 dogs, which is not what the state allows. You know, there's a number of other things, and I should have written down some notes, but, you know, I'm just curious on that, and if anybody knows for sure what, you know, the regulations are.
So,
Kevin?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you can't answer?
No, give me a call later, Dan.
Okay.
Okay.
What's a good time of day to get hold of you?
Oh, after 5.
After 5?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Yep.
Hi, Linda Dion, Raymond, New Hampshire. I just want to say thank you, Megan, for not rescinding the proposal to study coyotes. And thank you, Christina, that was great. And Mr. DeBoe, I'd like to know, this is a rhetorical question, but why is it okay that a trapper can kill 35 foxes, but you won't allow a coyote to kill a fox? It's you know, that's immoral. The coyote deserves the fox more than you do, more than this trapper who killed 35. And as far as your little letter, thank you, Megan, for not rescinding the proposal just because of his little letter that he probably, that he had to read.
Anybody else? Okay, not hearing anybody. Does anybody have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We're adjourned. Officially.